The sky tore itself open with fire and thunder as Serena labored to the agony of birth. Her scales glistened in the stormlight. Each shudder of her body sent sparks of molten flame spilling across the clouds. Dragons of the high Aries always birthed during celestial alignment. When the 3 moons burned white together, it was said the hatchlings inherited strength from the stars themselves. But Serena had broken the law of her kind. She had given life too soon. Her wings strained against the wind as her body convulsed. With one final roar, the hatchling slid free. Its scales soft and fragile, its breath weak but alive. Serena curled her body around the newborn, and for a moment she forgot the laws. She forgot the council. She forgot the punishment. She only knew the warmth of her child. The storm calmed as if exhausted by the miracle, but others had seen. Dark wings spread across the horizon. Elders of the council circled like shadows against lightning. Their eyes glowed with judgment colder than steel. One descended with a hiss of air. His voice boomed. You have defied the order. You have birthed in dishonor. This child will bring weakness. Serena bared her teeth. Her voice cracked. This child will bring life. That is strength. The elder snapped his jaws. Tradition holds our kind together. Without it we fall. You have cursed us. They surrounded her, claws heavy against stone. Serena shielded the hatchling beneath her chest. Every instinct demanded she fight, but her body was drained. The council declared the sentence without hesitation. Exile. No sky. No fire. No clan. The hatchling would be seized and inspected for flaws. Serena screamed as one elder wrenched a child from her grasp. The sound tore across the peaks like a broken horn. She lunged, but chains of flame bound her wings. The council raised their voices together. Exiled. Unnamed. Forever banished. The mountains that had been her home shrank behind her as she was dragged through the void, her wings torn by ritual cuts, her fire sealed by cruel runes. She landed upon the barren stones of the outer belt, the wasteland where exiles wasted away unseen. No warmth, no hunting grounds, only silence. Serena limped across the desolate plains with her hatchling clutched against her breast. Somehow she had stolen it back before the council cast her away. She whispered to it in broken words. You live. You will live. I will not let them take you. The hatchling whimpered but nuzzled close. Hope flickered within her, though her body weakened with every step. Days blurred into nights without stars. Her wings failed. She crashed upon jagged cliffs. Blood trickled from wounds that would not close. Her child cried weakly for food she could not find. She staggered on, driven by something beyond instinct, by love, by defiance. Each step carried her further from the mountain, but closer to collapse. She whispered stories to the hatchling of skies filled with flame, of a future where no law would bind them, but her voice grew faint. Her path ended upon a wasteland world where machines rusted beneath an alien sun. Towers of broken ships pierced the horizon. The air smelled of oil and fire. Serena fell into the graveyard of metal. Her wings sprawled useless across shattered hulls. The hatchling whimpered. Her eyes blurred. She thought of surrender, of curling around her child and letting death come. But footsteps echoed among the wrecks. Not dragon footsteps. Softer, steadier. A figure appeared from the smoke. 2 legs, 2 arms, covered in grease and armor patched with tools. A human. His eyes widened at the sight of her massive form broken and bleeding among the scrap. He did not raise a weapon. He did not flee. He whispered one word in awe. Dragon. Serena lifted her head weakly. Fire hissed between her teeth, but sputtered out in ash. She expected fear. She expected violence. Instead, the human stepped closer with careful slowness. In his hand were not blades, but wrenches. Instruments of repair, not destruction. Her vision swam. She curled protectively around the hatchling. The human paused. His gaze fell upon the tiny creature peeking from beneath her chest. His expression softened. He spoke gently. You're hurt. Both of you. Let me help. Serena bared her teeth. Leave. Her voice was a rasp. The human shook his head. Not leaving. Not when I can fix things. She stared. His words made little sense, yet carried conviction. Her body shuddered. Strength drained away. The hatchling reached toward the human with tiny claws. Serena growled low, but the child chirped. Trusting. The human crouched near without fear. He set down his tools. His hand stretched out not to strike, but to comfort. Serena closed her eyes. Every instinct told her to kill this fragile being. Yet her child reached, and she could no longer stand. Darkness pressed at the edges of her vision. She heard the human speak once more before unconsciousness claimed her. I don't know why you're here, but you are not alone anymore. Jackson had lived among ruins of machines his whole life. The scrapyard world was his cradle and his cage. Towers of broken ships reached for the skies, but never touched them. He walked their skeletons with hands stained in grease and eyes that longed for something beyond rust. Humans came and went chasing profit from the wreckage of wars. But Jackson stayed. He fixed what others threw away. Engines, hulls, circuits, things that once had purpose. He gave them breath again. He never imagined he would try the same with a dragon. When he found her collapse among the metal dunes, his heart pounded with equal parts terror and wonder. Dragons were myths to men like him, stories whispered in orbital taverns, weapons and guardians in ancient wars. Now one lay broken before him, her scales dulled, her fire gone, and at her breast a hatchling whimpered. He knelt slowly. His instinct screamed to run, but another voice whispered louder. This creature was dying, and Jackson had never walked away from something that could be fixed. Serena stirred as he drew near. Her single open eye glowed faintly. She bared her teeth. A flicker of flame sputtered from her jaws. Jackson raised his hands, palms open. I don't want to hurt you. I fix things. That is all. Her growl rumbled like stones sliding down a cliff. The hatchling peeked out curious. Jackson smiled faintly. Hey, little one. You're tougher than you look, aren't you? The hatchling chirped weakly. Its sound was fragile but alive. That sound pierced Jackson deeper than any blade. Serena whispered with strained breath. Leave. Jackson shook his head. Not going to happen. If you die here, so does your child. I can help. She did not answer. Her body sagged in exhaustion. Jackson took that silence as permission. He pulled tools from his belt. Cloth soaked with solvent. Vials of coagulant gel stolen from corporate kits. He worked quickly patching wounds along her wings, sealing cuts with makeshift braces. Serena flinched at each touch but did not strike. Her eyes followed him warily yet without hatred. The hatchling crawled toward him unsteady but determined. Jackson chuckled softly. You trust too easily, little flame. He reached into his pack and pulled a ration bar. He crumbled it. The hatchling snapped the pieces hungrily. Serena watched with tense disbelief. Why? Her voice cracked. Jackson met her gaze. Because you need someone, and so do I. Hours passed. He built a shelter from broken plating. A crude nest of metal, but safe from scavengers. He dragged wiring and fused it into crude heaters. The air warmed. Serena relaxed fraction by fraction. She spoke more though her words were halting. She told him of exile, of laws that bound her kind tighter than chains. Jackson listened, his jaw clenched at the cruelty described. He spat onto the dirt. Tradition is nothing if it kills what it should protect. Serena tilted her head. Without tradition we are nothing. Jackson shook his head. Without life you are nothing. The hatchling climbed into his lap. Serena snarled softly, but the child chirped again, and she fell silent. Jackson stroked the soft scales gently. What will you call her? Serena closed her eyes. Names are given only by the council. She has none. She is cursed. Jackson frowned. Then we give her one. She deserves that much. Serena hesitated. To name without counsel is heresy. Jackson laughed bitterly. You're already exiled. What more can they take? She said nothing. But when the hatchling curled asleep in his arms, Jackson whispered, Then until you choose, I'll call you Ember. Nights and days blurred. Jackson repaired more of her injuries. He fashioned supports for her wings using struts scavenged from shuttle wrecks. He grafted small plates to shield her exposed joints. His hands worked with precision honed over years of labor. Serena marveled silently. She had known only dragon flame and claws tools. Human hands shaped differently, not for destruction, but creation. She asked him one night, "Why stay with me? Why risk death? Corporations kill for less than harboring me." Jackson answered simply, "Because I am tired of fixing ships that go to war. Maybe it's time I fix something that deserves to live." Serena studied him, his shoulders scarred by labor, his eyes weary yet alight with stubborn fire. She began to believe his words. Yet deep inside, shame gnawed at her. She had birthed wrong. She had doomed her child. Could any act undo that? She asked Jackson, "What if my child grows weak? What if the council was right?" Jackson looked at her fiercely. "Then she will still matter. Weakness does not erase worth. I was called weak my whole life. Still here aren't I?" His voice carried steel. Serena lowered her head. A warmth stirred in her chest, not from fire, but from something she had never known. Trust. The hatchling grew stronger each day, fed by Jackson's scavenge rations and Serena's remaining strength. She followed Jackson constantly, tugging at his tools, mimicking his gestures. Serena would watch with wary amusement. For the first time since exile, laughter cracked through her despair. Jackson caught it once and smiled. "See, life finds a way. No law can cage that." Serena met his eyes and for a moment forgot her shame. But peace could not last. Jackson noticed sensors flickering in the scrapyard skies. Corporate drones circling higher each night, their scanners sniffing heat signatures. He cursed beneath his breath as one flew near their shelter. He cloaked the nest with old ship plating, but he knew it was only time before discovery. One evening he sat beside Serena and whispered low, "They are watching. If they find you, they will harvest every piece of you. Scales, blood, even your child." Serena bared her teeth. "Let them come. I will burn them." Jackson shook his head. "Not yet. You are healing. If you fight now, you die. And then Ember dies too." She hated his words because they rang true. Her claws dug into the ground. She felt the chains of exile heavy again. But this time there was more than despair. There was something to lose, something to protect. Her gaze shifted to Jackson, who polished a tool under the dim light. He was small, fragile, fleeting. Yet he stood where her own kind had cast her aside. She whispered, "Why do you fight for us? You owe me nothing." Jackson looked up, his eyes steady. "Maybe not, but you remind me that not everything broken should be thrown away. Sometimes the broken things are worth the most." His words struck deeper than dragon flame. Serena looked at Ember sleeping soundly between them. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that survival was possible, that maybe exile was not the end, but the beginning of something unseen. Then the sound of engines shattered the fragile peace. A corporate drone descended lower than before, its red eye glowing as it scanned the shelter. Jackson cursed and grabbed a blaster he had sworn never to use. Serena rose weakly, her wings trembling. The drone shrieked an alarm signal into the night. Jackson fired sparks flying as the machine spun away. But the damage was done. The corporation now knew something lived in the scrap that should not be there. Jackson lowered his weapon, his voice grim. "They will come." Serena curled protectively around Ember. Her voice was a low growl. "Then let them. This time I will not run." Serena lay near her child, watching the human in quiet thought. Something bound them now. Not law, not blood, but choice. Outside the scrapyard, the first corporate ships began to stir. Inside, a dragon, and a man prepared for what was to come. The scrapyard trembled beneath the weight of approaching engines. Jackson had seen corporate patrols before, but never this many. Lights cut through the night. Drones scouted in precise arcs. He knew they had traced the signal from the fallen scout. His heart pounded as he hurried to reinforce the shelter. Serena watched him with narrowed eyes. She sensed his fear. He sensed her fury. Days became restless hours. He scavenged every weapon he could from the wrecks. Turrets from shattered cruisers. Mines stripped from old freighters. He wired them into a defense grid barely functional, but better than nothing. Serena limped beside him as he worked. Her wings stretched wider each day, her strength returning. The braces he built held firm. She tested them in cautious flaps that lifted her body inches from the ground. Each lift brought back a fragment of the sky she had lost. Ember followed both of them with unshakable loyalty. She tugged at wires, climbed over scrap, practiced tiny bursts of flame that sputtered like sparks. Jackson encouraged her with gentle words. Serena corrected her with stern growls. Together they raised the hatchling in defiance of law. Each moment bound them tighter. Yet shadows grew closer. One evening Jackson caught sight of something beyond the human patrols. Darker wings against the horizon. Not machines. Not men. Dragons. His blood froze. He whispered to Serena, "You're kind. They have found you." Her heart twisted. She looked to Ember, then to Jackson. Shame burned her throat. "They will kill us all. They will not allow my child to live." Jackson clenched his jaw. "Then we fight. Together." The first attack came at dawn. Corporate mercenaries descended from troop carriers, their armor gleaming, their rifles raised. Jackson triggered his mines. Explosions rocked the scrapyard. Metal shards tore through the air. Mercenaries scattered, but pressed forward. Serena roared with renewed strength, and fire burst from her jaws. The flames carved through steel and stone. For the first time since exile, her powers surged unhindered. Ember shrieked, echoing her mother. Jackson fought among the ruins, using every trap he had built. Cannons welded into turrets spat fire across the intruders. He moved with precision, his knowledge of every corridor, every scrap pile, giving him advantage. But their numbers were many. For every one that fell, two more advanced. Serena spread her wings and rose above the battlefield, clumsy but determined. Her braces creaked. She slammed into squads, scattering them with sheer weight. Her eyes blazed. She had been caged in silence, but now she was storm incarnate. Then the sky split with greater shadows. The dragon enforcers descended, their scales black as void, their eyes cold with law. They circled the scrapyard, ignoring the humans. Their leader roared, "Serena, exile, traitor, your child shall be ash." Serena froze mid-flight. Her heart clenched at the sound of their judgment. She faltered. Jackson shouted from below, "Ignore them. You are not theirs anymore." The enforcers swooped. One clawed at Ember. Serena dove in desperation, catching her child within her grasp. Rage consumed her. She slammed her tail into the enforcer, sending him crashing through a tower of steel. Another struck from behind. Jackson fired a turret, blasting shards across its wings. The enforcer howled and retreated. Man and dragon fought side by side, bound by survival. But the battle was chaos. Corporate mercenaries pressed from the ground. Dragon enforcers attacked from above. Serena was torn between defending Ember and shielding Jackson. Jackson was torn between repairing weapons and protecting them both. Ember tried to breathe flame, but only sparks came. Yet those sparks ignited wreckage that forced mercenaries back. Even the smallest fire mattered. Hours blurred into madness. Smoke blackened the sky. Serena roared with every ounce of strength, but wounds reopened. Blood streamed from her side. Jackson rushed to her, setting fuses and blasting attackers away. He climbed into a half-broken gunship and powered its engines. The machine groaned to life under his hands. He shouted through comms patched into her brace, "Fly with me. Fight with me." For a moment, Serena remembered legends of dragon riders, tales of unity long lost. Now history repeated but twisted. Not dragon ruling man, nor man ruling dragon. Equal, broken beings who chose each other. She took to the air beside his trembling craft. Fire lit her wings. Cannons lit his hull. Together, they carved a path through the storm. Yet the enforcers regrouped. Their leader descended in fury, his claws glowing with ritual flame. "You shame us, Serena. You shame all dragonkind." Serena bared her teeth. "I shame nothing. I protect what you would destroy." They clashed midair. Fire against fire. Steel against scale. The sky thundered. Jackson supported with blasts from the ship, tearing through enemy wings. Ember cried from within the shelter, her voice like a bell in the storm. The leader struck Serena across the chest, sending her spiraling. Jackson dove the gunship after firing wildly to force the enforcer back. Serena caught herself before impact, her heart pounding. She heard Jackson's voice crackling. "Get up. You are not done. You promised Ember Sky." Something inside her snapped free. She rose with fire so bright it blinded the battlefield. She rammed the enforcer, driving him into ground with fury unmatched. But victory was not yet theirs. The corporations deployed heavy walkers from orbit machines bristling with cannons. The ground shook as they advanced. Jackson cursed. "We can't hold forever." Serena landed beside him, Ember clinging to her neck. Her breath came ragged, but her eyes burned with resolve. She whispered, "Then we do not hold. We break free." Jackson met her gaze. He understood. There would be no safety here. No hiding. No waiting. They must carve a future with fire and steel. He tightened his grip on the controls. "Then let's end this." Serena unfurled her wings, blood dripping, but unyielding. Ember spread tiny wings beside her. 3 voices rose together. "Man-dragon. Child. Bound not by law but by choice." The battlefield paused as both corporate soldiers and dragon enforcers beheld the sight. A union not seen in any age. It was not council decree, not corporate command. It was defiance given flesh. For a heartbeat the world held still. Then the storm of war roared anew. As explosions consumed the scrapyard and shadows closed from all sides, Jackson shouted through the comms. "Serena, whatever happens, we do this together." Serena roared in answer, "Together." And with that vow they hurled themselves into fire. The scrapyard was fire and ruin. Towers of metal crumbled under the rain of shells. Smoke choked the air and sparks danced like dying stars. Jackson gripped the controls of the battered gunship, his knuckles white. Serena soared beside him, wings torn but burning with defiance. Ember clung to her back, eyes wide yet unyielding. All around them, enemies closed in. The corporate walkers advanced their cannons, shredding the ground. The dragon enforcers circled above their leader, driving them forward with relentless fury. Jackson swore under his breath and rolled the ship through a hail of plasma. Serena dived within her body, cutting through smoke like a blade. They struck as one. Her fire engulfed the walker, while his cannon split its joints. The machine toppled in flames. Ember shrieked a cry that sounded almost like triumph. But victory cost blood. Another enforcer slammed into Serena, from above, claws tearing across her back. She roared in agony and nearly faltered. Ember cried out, clinging tighter. Jackson fired wildly at the attacker, forcing him back. His voice crackled through the calm, "Stay with me. Don't give in. Not now." Serena gasped through pain. "I will not fall. Not while she lives." They fought on. Jackson weaving through wreckage, unleashing every ounce of ingenuity. Serena raining fire upon those who pressed too close. Ember surprising them all with a sudden burst of true flame. It was small but pure. It caught the wing of an enforcer, sending him spinning. Serena turned her head in shock then pride. "You see, Jackson, she is strong." Jackson grinned fiercely. "Stronger than all of us." The leader of the enforcers descended through the smoke, his scales shining with cruel radiance. His voice thundered. "Serena, you defy the council. You ally with vermin. Your child is an abomination. Your life ends now." Serena rose to meet him, her wings spread, wide though blood dripped freely. Her voice cut through the battlefield. "I am no longer yours to judge. My child is no curse. She is future." They clashed with fury that shook the skies. Fire against fire. Wing against wing. Jackson supported from below, striking when he saw openings. Ember cried encouragement from her perch, as though her tiny voice could shape the storm. Serena fought with every shred of will. She remembered the chains, the judgment, the agony of exile. She remembered Jackson's hands repairing her broken wings. She remembered Ember's first spark of flame. She would not lose. The enforcer leader drove her back, slashing her chest. She staggered and nearly fell. Jackson roared and drove his ship straight into the enforcer, firing all cannons at once. The dragon reeled from the assault. Serena seized a moment. With a final surge, she struck. Her jaws closed on his throat. Fire poured through his scales. The leader screamed and crashed to the ground. Silence followed his fall. The other enforcers faltered, their eyes wide. For the first time in centuries, a dragon had slain a council enforcer and lived. Serena roared a challenge that split the heavens. The mercenaries hesitated. Some fled. Some fought on blindly. Jackson seized a moment to press the assault. He guided the gunship beside Serena. His voice rang steady. This is not just survival. This is freedom. For you, for her, for us all. Serena lifted her head high. Her body trembled, but her spirit blazed brighter than ever. She spoke to every enemy present. Your laws mean nothing. Your chains mean nothing. We are not bound by stars or councils. We are bound by choice. And I choose life. The mercenaries broke and scattered into the smoke. The remaining enforcers circled uncertain, then withdrew, dragging the body of their leader. They would return one day, but not today. Today the exile had claimed victory. The battlefield lay silent save for crackle of fire. Jackson landed the gunship on a plateau of twisted steel. He climbed out his body, weary his hands burned from the controls. Serena limped to meet him. Ember slid from her back and ran unsteady to Jackson, wrapping her small claws around his arm. Jackson laughed despite the blood on his lips. You fought like the stars themselves, little one. Ember chirped proudly. Serena lowered her head toward Jackson, her voice soft. Without you, I would have died long ago. Without you, my child would have been ash. Jackson shook his head. Without you, I would still be fixing broken things in silence. You gave me something worth fighting for. They stood amid ruin, but in their hearts a seed of something greater had taken root. Serena felt the weight of her choice. She had defied her kind. She had allied with a human. She had forged a new path with her child at its heart. Shame no longer bound her. Pride surged instead. She whispered, Ember is no curse. She is hope. Jackson placed his hand against her scarred scales. And she is ours. The sun broke through the smoke, casting light across the wreckage. For the first time since exile, Serena felt warmth not of fire, but of dawn. She spread her wings though they shook with exhaustion. She lifted Ember to her back. She looked at Jackson. Come with us. We cannot remain. The sky must be ours. Jackson glanced at the burning horizon, then back at her. His voice was steady. I was never meant to stay grounded. Yes, let us build a sky of our own. He climbed into the gunship. Engines rumbled weak, but alive. Serena rose beside him, wings beating, uneven yet powerful. Ember clung to her back, eyes bright with wonder. Together they ascended through smoke and ruin. Not council dragons. Not corporate slaves. Something new. The scrapyard shrank below them. Ahead stretched the endless stars. Jackson's voice carried through the calm where to now. Serena gazed upon the void. Her answer was simple. Forward. Always forward. Ember released a tiny spark of flame that danced like a promise. The stars welcomed them. Broken. Scarred. Yet unyielding. Their future would not be written by councils or corporations. It would be forged in fire and steel and the bond they had chosen. For the first time, Serena believed truly. Exile had not been her end. It had been her beginning. And so dragon, human, and child vanished into the night sky, leaving behind ruin and legend, a tale of defiance, a tale of hope, a tale that whispered across the void that no law could chain the will to live.